Good morning, everyone. Um, Welcome back to another training session for the Tafo Improvement Pods. Here I'll be going over some tech that I want to practice, as well as talking about a topic that I'm interested in, that I sort of had thoughts about, opinions about, and I just want to, sort of verbally announce them just so I can kind of go back in the future and see where I've came from and how I've improved, what my mindset was, my opinions, just as a benchmark. So primarily these videos are for me, but if you do get something out of them, that's great, and I'm glad that you could. But they're not incredibly high level thoughts or opinions, so it may not help you, but if it does, then I'm glad that it does. So this topic we're going to be talking about today is kind of an elephant in the room. It's not quite the happiest of subjects. We're going to be talking about how to tilting the opponent, how to do it, why it happens, and ways to potentially avoid those situations, or getting tilted. So, what is tilting? So tilting is basically when you're in a situation and emotionally you're sort of strayed. You're not thinking as normally, you're not thinking as clearly, and because of that you sort of make mistakes and you start to do things that you normally wouldn't do, and it's a mental state of basically a mentally negative state that sort of is elicited by a situation or by an opponent. And the reason why tilting is really bad is when you're tilted, and you're doing these behaviors that you're not sort of either aware of or you're not voluntarily doing yourself. It's you're being manipulated. You're basically being mentally played. It's a mental game, and these behaviors, these mindsets that you have are exploitable. Just like in the previous autopiloting video I made for the training session, we learned that all patterns and behaviors tend to be exploitable in some way or another, and the moment that you are not thinking coherently or as positively or neutral as you can, it diminishes your performance within the game and even outside of the game. So tilting is very, very bad because not only is it worse than autopiloting, where you're just doing things over and over again, but tilting is also when you have a negative response to something, and negative emotions highly affect your gameplay, and does so negatively, as you can imagine. We know that this is not exclusive to any sort of tier of player. We know that it happens to lower players when they face against like Moth and his forward smash and his spikes and everything like that. His grab, and it tends to be a very, very negative experience. And we know that in mid-level, people really hate ice climbers for wobbling. We know that they really hate Falco's lasers because how restrictive they are. And we know that even in top level play that we have, like Mewtwo King is notorious for having bad mentality, and sort of being tilted and having these sort of negative emotions throughout this gameplay when he can't do what he wants to do, when he's sort of being beaten and put in situations that he can't deal with. And that's the whole thing about tilting. So how do you tilt the opponent? Again, much like Mewtwo King, it's when you are putting a person in a situation that they can't deal with, and not only that, but frustrates them. It puts them in an emotional state of negativity. And when you put them into the state, there's several aspects to it. One, you are taking away the ability of choice. Both mentally, both in the game, both mentally, you are taking away the ability to choose what they're doing in the game. And that is very, very frustrating. One of the reasons why wobbling and chain grabs by Moth is considered to be really tilting is because you have practically lost all ability to really do anything meaningful. And when you lose that meaningful interaction in the game, when you feel like no matter what you do, it makes no difference, that's frustrating, because this game is most fighting games are basically your will against another person, and when your will is stripped away from those situations, it's negatively it's an emotionally negative response naturally. And so when you put into these negative emotions, you are being manipulated. You lose your choice, you lose your freedom of thinking of how to navigate the game, and that too can be a frustrating thing. So it's kind of like a negative feedback loop. Something bad happens, you feel frustrated, and then once you feel frustrated, you do things that will get you into those situations to begin with, and so that's going to be exploited, and everything like that. So it can very much, tilting can inspire tilting, and that's what makes it so hard to get out of, and that's what puts people really. That's what, when you see a lot of those 4 stocks, a lot of those 3 stocks, is when those players start tilting, start getting themselves in those situations that they can't deal with. And so they start acting and behaving and navigating the game in very unoptimal ways. So how do you do that? Well, you put them in situations. You put them in, such as, let's say, I'm against a Falco main, or a Fox main even, in the Fox Dittos, because Fox Dittos can swing with just one shine. So it's very easy to sort of have a lead and then it have completely blown away. What if I up throw the opponent's Fox and just up throw them and up throw them and up tilt and up throw, and just basically, again, put them in situations where they feel like they don't have any choice. They're gonna start emotionally being sort of frustrated. What if they're not good on platforms, and it seems no matter what, whenever you're near a platform, they can't seem to get in, or they just can't seem to hit you. You're just like running around with at them in a circle. They're gonna start trying to avoid those situations. They're gonna try to basically not allow you to do that to them. But because of that, you know what they're trying to avoid. And so if they're trying to avoid those situations, again, you're limiting their options. You are manipulating them. And the more and more you put them into these situations, the more and more negative emotions they're going to feel. And the more negative emotions they feel, well, the more frustrated they're gonna be. Again, we come back to that feedback loop, that negative feedback loop. And so if you're trying to tilt the opponent, you are trying to put them in as many situations again and again and again and again that will elicit that negative emotion. And when you do that, eventually your opponent will break. Your opponent will mentally break, because that much stress, that much negative emotion will ultimately alter their behavior to the point where they feel completely useless. Where no matter, even if they input a button, it's useless. They feel like that sense of self-agency, of autonomy and will is useless. And then from then on, it's not even the game anymore. It's just they'll let you do they'll let you do what you want to them, just because, what can they do? It's not like they can shine you as a shield. That doesn't work. It's not like they can, camp the ledges. That's not going to work. It's not like they can, throw out lasers or, dash dance around you. It's not going to work. Mentally, you've destroyed them. That being said, I think there's a context to all this as well, which is I highly discourage, as many people will definitely say, you should not be trying to tilt your opponent in friendlies. It's just not. It doesn't help anyone. Friendlies, when you play friendlies and when you play games against people to try to improve, it's a conversation. It's a two-way street, You're trying to improve yourself and your gameplay, but you're also trying to help the other player too. Like, you gotta share the love. You have to, give your insight, your input, and they need to give, their insight and their input. It's a conversation. Friendlies is a conversation of how can we both improve? How can we both give and take from each other in equal parts that will help us, reach a new level of understanding and proficiency in the game. Tilting the other player does not do that. It gives no insights whatsoever. I mean, yeah, it says, in this situation makes you feel frustrated, but you know that already. The opponent will know what situations you're not comfortable in, what elicits emotionally negative response. It doesn't help them at all. So you should not be using this for friendly games. You should not be using this playing, casual, games just to have fun. It's just not. It's tilting the other opponent it's mean. It really is. It's mean. It's mean. It's disrespectful, or BM, bad mannered, and you should not be using these for friendly situations. But I do believe in a competitive setting, it's a whole new ball game. In a competitive setting, you are trying to do your best to win at no matter what the cost. Obviously, not like punching the other person or like sabotaging their controllers or anything like that. That's not, putting them on top. That's legitimately just like, that's cheating, and illegal. And if you mean physical violence. But if you can get mentally in the person's head to make it easier for you to win, then I think that is part of the game. That's part of competition, which is if they're not ready to deal with the potential of being put on tilt, of being disrespected, of sort of, being frustrated or mentally like exhausted and stressed, then they should really assess whether they should be in that competitive, community. So again, don't do this in friendlies, but in competition, I definitely think that it's a tool that a lot of people should use and not really be afraid to use, even though it may make them seem like a bad guy. We're all playing this game. There's a difference between playing the game and not playing the game, and whatever's in the game stays in the game. I think if they're not being completely disrespectful outside of the game, when you're not playing, then what happens in the game stays in the game. And I think in competitive things, you just have to deal with the chance of them trying to mentally break you. That's competition. It's to see who's best, and there's a lot of facets of doing that. If you can't deal with the situation, then you can't deal with the situation. But that never should come out outside of the game, unless the other person is blatantly being a dick outside. That's a whole new thing, So again, putting them in a lot of situations that make them feel powerless will definitely tilt them. Up throw them, chain grab them, shield grabbing them, just basically also disrespecting them will also put them on tilt. So if I just stay in shield and then just shield grab and then throw them off and then shine them off and just keep doing that, not even moving, not even trying to put effort in, can put a person on tilt. And then they're going to be like, oh, I'll show that you can't do this to me. And then they start trying to, do things to get around that, and that's exploitable. So you're manipulating the other person. What are other things that you can do? Well, let's say I edgeguard someone and they're falling, I can shine them. There's no reason for me to shine them. They're already dead. We all know that they're going to lose that stock. But shining them, just it just mentally, it just hurts, We've all been a victim of that, of a fox who has edgeguards us and then fast fall shines you, even though you've already dead, even though there's no way you could get back. They will they'll shine you and stuff like that. What's another good way? Another good way, which is if someone SDs, let's say I go like this. It could be considered good manners if you forfeit a stock. If it's if it's something like that. But often it will tilt the other player. Why? Because you're basically saying oh, here's a free stock, and in your mind it may actually legitimately be a goodwill type of thing. That's that was kind of jank. I'm gonna throw away my stock so that we're even. But to the other person, that's you announcing, hey, I don't need the stock to win. I'll go even with you no matter what. So you have to kind of be careful when you do that, because it can be considered very bad mannered. I know a lot of people on net play don't like it when you forfeit your stock. It makes them feel really bad, because to them they don't know whether you're doing it legitimately to be nice or legitimately to sort of BM them and to tilt them. So on net play, if I don't know them, I won't throw away their stock. I won't try to even up the stocks if they SD, because you just never know. And yeah, again, in that situation, they shouldn't really take anything personally, but the fact is that it just know and be aware that can potentially emotionally charge them, and it could make them think that you're trying to disrespect them. Another really good way to tilt a person, and I hate when this happens, and when I see players do this, because it's just it's stupid. It really is. It's just being mean. When you basically win a match, and then you go to like a low tier character. When you basically go and like you pick, you're playing Fox and you're beating them, and then you go and you were just like, oh, let me play my Donkey Kong that I don't ever touch, and then you play Donkey Kong. And then you go like basically almost even. You may lose, but like you're still taking like 2 or 3 stocks on them. That frustrates them, and you know that frustrates them. Or you, worse all, if basically you're playing, let's say I'm playing like Fox, right, and someone else is playing Peach, and then I go and pick Peach. I don't play Peach. No, I don't know how to play Peach. But I pick Peach. The character the other player is playing to try to beat them. You know that you're basically being a stick. Like if you're playing a character that you don't normally play, and trying to beat them with it, you know you're being a jerk. Like that's just being mean, man. And you can, again, in a competitive setting though, if it works, it works. And so if it mentally tilts them and upsets them, then it's, they have to deal with it in a competitive setting. If you can take advantage of whatever you can in the competitive setting, then I think you should. So the question is, since there's a lot of ways that you can upset a person or get upset yourself, what can you do? How do you avoid being tilted? It's not an easy way. It puts you in an emotionally negative sort of mentality. So it's already, the purpose is to upset you, to make you emotionally frustrated. The best way, and it's not the easiest way, and it's not foolproof either, but honestly, again, it's to realize that what happens in game happens in game, and whatever happens outside of game happens outside of the game. Don't take anything personally what happens in game, especially not in a competitive setting. If they're doing it in friendlies, yeah, I think you should be like, hey, like, I know that we're playing friendlies and I know we're trying to improve, but I feel like you're disrespecting me and I'm not really learning anything. And I feel like you're trying to do, like, it's always good to talk to a person to let them know, like, maybe they're not doing it intentionally, Just don't take it personally. And that's easier said than done, because when you're already in a negative mindset, it's very, very hard for you to get out of that mindset. Because, all you want to do is basically, I'll show him he can't treat me that way and everything like that. But in game, what happens in game happens in game, and it's a game. It's a game, and it happens sometimes. It's the nature of competition. There's a mental aspect to it. The second thing, which can be considered a cop-out, is saying, maybe you're not used to that matchup. Maybe you have no idea exactly what tools, and they're just basically trying to make use of whatever they can of that character and to tilt you. And you're not really, too comfortable. You're not too good at that matchup. Again, you can't be too hard on yourself. That's not to say, like, I've never played against a Yoshi. I don't know what he does. Like, it's not making excuses for your loss. It's not genre. It's just being real with yourself. Everyone has their own play style, and maybe it's just either that the character that you're against is just sort of utilizes in a way that you're just not good at dealing with, or maybe the player is playing in a way that it's always been a difficult problem for you, and that's okay. That's what growth is. That's what improvement is. That's what trying to expand your knowledge and proficiency as a gamer. It's you're going to be bad at something. You're going to be bad at certain situations. You're going to be bad at certain, against certain people, against certain characters. And again, it's not to John. It's not to place all your things. It's like, oh, the only reason why I lost is because he was playing really like slow paced and everything like that. But it's not John. It's just like, I have difficulties in this. I haven't quite figured it out. But I know that with some extra practice, I'll be able to deal with that next time, and next time I'll be better prepared, because these are the things that sort of I'm not comfortable with against this type of play style, and next time I'll keep that in mind. Well, like that's fine. It's fine to not know something. It's just as long as you take it upon yourself to be real about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how to improve, and just be aware. Give yourself some autonomy back. Don't let the other person control what happens in your mind. They call it self-esteem for a reason. While a person can manipulate it, you do have a choice to be like, this was difficult for me, and I'm aware that this is difficult for me, and I'll make a note of it. I'll write jot some notes down, try to ask some people that are utilize this play style and what makes it hard for them against certain other things. Like, use resources available. Just don't go into it emotionally charged. Try to beat what frustrates you due to determination, not because of frustration. And again, all of these are very hard to sort of keep consistent. But if you again, like if you can, for my autopiloting video, we talked about using movements in games for like mental triggers and anchors to elicit awareness about your behavior. Outside the game, you can do that too. Take a moment to breathe. Take a moment to just close your eyes and to meditate. To sort of like go over your mind and everything like that. Give yourself a mental break. That can really help. Close your eyes, breathe in, count to 10, breathe out. Just take a moment and just realize that even though it may seem frustrating in game, you are still playing a really awesome, really cool, and fun game. And though it may seem frustrating at times, it's fun, That's why we play it, because we enjoy playing it. And there's certain things that we don't enjoy about it, but I mean, we get to play Melee, Like that's a fun time. That's a great thing that we get to play Melee. So, putting yourself in the mind frame of not taking what happens in the game personally, not to be insulted by it. We all have room to grow. We all have room to improve, and it's okay being at one state of being, and it's okay to need to improve. So, there's a good thread that was posted on our Smash Bros. And even our SSBM on Reddit about basically mental states. I forget the guy's name, the poster's name, but I'll post in like the link and like the description, the video description on those threads, and that will help. That will help being able to elicit immediately and reliably a clear, calm, concise state of mind, and that will help immensely not being tilted and being able to make most of what's happening in the game, regardless whether a person is trying to tilt you or not. Because a lot of people have an issue about being tilted and trying to being frustrated when things just seem to go wrong for no reason other than things just being wrong. So in recap, tilting is tilting is being in an negatively emotional state due to situations that happen in game that make you feel powerless and pointless of playing. And the reason why this is bad is because it makes you emotionally stressed. It makes you basically immediately manipulated by the opponent, and it makes you do things that you normally wouldn't do. It makes your behavior and the way that you navigate the game it makes you able to be manipulated further. It makes your gameplay and your behaviors and everything exploitable. And in general, it can affect how you interact with people outside the game as well. Some ways that you can tilt the other opponent is constantly put them in situations that you know really frustrates them, such as like chain grabs or up throws, or just like, you know, disrespectful, like just not moving, not respecting their ability to play the game. And in general, just try to frustrate them. Try to get them in as many situations as possible that will elicit a negatively emotional state. You shouldn't do this in friendly games. You absolutely not. But in the competitive game, when money is on the line, when you're trying to prove who's better, you know, anything goes, and these tips can definitely get you the mental edge. Force the other person to sort of mentally break. Another good way to do is to tilt the other player to play a low tier character when you know that you know you don't play that character, or try to beat them with their own character. That's very frustrating. And can really tilt the other player if you win. So how do you avoid it? Best way, not to take anything in game personally. You know, it's a game. It's competition. You're trying to win. You're trying to do as much as you can to win, to get the edge over the other person. You know, play smarter, not harder. You know, keep it simple. And do what you can to win. If that means putting the person on tilt, that's how you do it. It's competition. It's a facet of competition. Remember that there's always things that you can improve on. That it's okay to be not good at some things. It's okay to not have a play style or a matchup down. You know, there's always room for improvement, and that's okay. You know, generally, just never give up as well. You know, even if things don't stop DIing attacks. Make it as hard as you can for the other person. You know, give them a bit of payback. You know, make them work for it. Make them really work for it. Don't just work. You know, I've been pillared. I don't know how to work for it. Make them earn. You know, make them earn frustrating you. You know, don't let them have it for free. That's a big thing. You know, make them earn playing you as best as you can. What else can help you not get tilted? Just ask questions. You know, just realize that you can ask, and there are resources that are out there that you can use to figure out what has frustrated you. There's a lot of, just knowing that there's a whole lot of resources for, you know, a lot of like playing against Captain Falcon. I hate playing against Captain Falcon. I feel that, you know, no matter how far ahead, no matter how well I'm doing, all he needs is one random stray knee, and I just lost the stock. And that frustrates me sometimes because, you know, I feel like no matter how safe I play, and I like to play very safe, very, you know, very low risk, low reward sort of play. I feel no matter how non-risky I play, it doesn't matter, and that can frustrate me. But I realize that, you know, that's okay. I haven't quite figured it out, and I may hate the matchup, but you know, I'll learn, and I know now some things that I can do to sort of not keep myself a bit safer. You know, I know when to dash dance, when to sort of avoid things, when to not go into attack. And it's less frustrating now because I just realized that, you know, there's things that I just need to improve on. I don't take anything in there personally. And in general, there are very good ways for you to, again, elicit, to make mental anchors and sort of to condition yourself to elicit a calm and collective state of mind. And again, I'll post those. I'll link you those threads, those Reddit threads on that in the description. Because I think that's very, very helpful. I think it will be very helpful for a lot of people, no matter what their level of play is. It just generally helps. You know, who doesn't want to have a mental trigger to put them at a common collective mind? That's awesome. You know, that's an awesome tool. It's an awesome thing to do, and it's really easy to you know, create as well. You just have to sort of put in the initial effort into it, and then it all falls into place. So those are just some ways to, you know, what tilting is, how to elicit it, how to avoid it, and again, it's just good to know that there's always a lot of mental aspects into this game, and when you make most of how you behave and how you act and how you feel, both in and outside of the game, it becomes a whole new ballgame. Another good thing to avoid tilting, or to further tilt yourself, take a break. Take a break. If the game is frustrating you, take a break. Take a week break. Take a several week break. No, you can always come back. Melee is not going anywhere. It's been here for 15 years. It's not going anywhere. At least not anywhere soon. So, you can take a mental break. Take a mental vacation, Do something else. Play another game, do other hobbies that you like to do. You can always come back and come back with when you feel like you're freshly ready to play the game. Calm mind. That's okay. It's okay to take breaks. So thank you for watching. That's basically gonna be it from me. Again, I'll link the threads that I was talking about to make those mental triggers and mental states, so that you can instantly sort of go back into a emotionally neutral and calm, clear mind, state of mind, and if you keep up with that and you're really diligent with it, then it can help a lot. It's a powerful tool. But that will be all, and I appreciate you listening, and I hopefully will see you next time in the next training session.